We hope you are enjoying being human, physically focused as much as we are, for we love being physical, because being physical, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like having your physical senses. There's nothing like translating vibration, and there is nothing like being a receiving mode. You are always in a receiving mode. If you're awake, you're in a receiving mode. The question is, what receiving mode are you in? Because you think you're the thinker of your thought, and so you're depending a lot on your thoughts and your actions, but your actions don't have much leverage if your actions are not inspired from source energy, from your inner being. It's up to you to depend on your thoughts, because you will move around in life and you will come to the conclusion on your own that there must be something different to the picture. There must be something more to what we're seeing with our eyes, and that is vibration. This is a vibrational reality, and in a vibrational reality, you can't take your eyes there. You can't take your sense of touch there. You can't use your ears there. You have to use your emotion. And so for many, they don't value their emotions. They think their emotions are something that they can just cope with. And so they'll go out and they'll do action and they'll do what they need to do to get what they need to do done. But your emotions are a lot more important than you realize that they are. That is, if you haven't realized already. Because when you feel negative emotion, that is your warning sign. That is a warning bell that you are going in the wrong direction. These emotions are so important because without your emotions, you don't have guidance. And without your emotions, how do you know what feels good and what feels bad? This is a universe of relativity. Albert Einstein said that. When you know one thing, you know the opposite side of it. When you know one thing, you can measure the distance to the other side. And so from where you are right now, you can go to wherever you want to go. But where you really want to go is not the action journey that you think it is. It's truly a vibrational journey. It is an emotional journey. And we see so many, and we think that we see so many in their efforts try to make things happen and try to use their action. And you can surely get many things done. You can with your action, but your actions, anything that you do with your actions, will always be mediocre in comparison to what you could have gotten if you line the energy up, if you use vibration. So how can you be aware of your vibration? What does vibration mean? Think of vibration as the most basic piece of your reality that makes up your reality. That's vibration. And so vibration is, you're translating vibration all the time. That's what's so interesting. And what's even more interesting is that you think you're the thinker of a thought. You think that you're thinking thoughts, but you're not thinking thoughts, because your brain is not a storage cabinet. Your brain isn't a file system. It's not a file system. It's actually a transmitting and receiving mechanism. It's like a radio. You tune to the channel that you want in your car on the radio, and then what's on that channel, that song, it comes into clearer and clearer view. It's not much different than that. In fact, it's exactly the same as that, because with your mind, you're achieving a frequency, you're achieving a vibration. And what's on that vibration, you are translating it with your thought. And so that's how vibration works. Isn't that interesting? You're always in a receiving mode all day, every day. So if you're in a receiving mode all day, then that means that your chance of being in a receiving mode of your source of infinite intelligence is also very likely. It's at all-time high. In fact, many people are in concert with source so many times during the day. Most people are. But the trick is, the real kick in the kidney is most don't stay there. Most will stay there for a second, and then the quote-unquote real life problems come into their minds, the to-do list, the things that they have to get done, and so it all just gets blown over to the side. But in reality, your emotion is the most important thing. And if we were in anyone's physical shoes, from the standpoint, of course, of infinite intelligence, our first and foremost intention, and we would only use our action to measure and to tend to how we feel, because how you feel, it equals your point of attraction to which a law of attraction is responding to. So it's your best work. Your best work truly is the emotional work, because when you're in the emotion, when you do the emotional work, when you align the energy, when you take the time to align the energy, then the action is not only that much easier, it yields you way much more. It yields you so much. And so this is really about using the least amount of effort and getting the most payoff, the biggest payoff. Because when you are in concert with source, you can get those big payoffs, because source doesn't factor in action. It doesn't factor in the details, because source doesn't have resistance like you. Source doesn't split the energy. Source doesn't doubt. And how do you feel knowing that you have source at your beck and call. Because what do you think happens when you receive a good thought? What do you think happens when you think a good thought? You think you're thinking a good thought, but really you're receiving it, because you're receiving all the time. You can be in a receiving mode of fear, you can be in a receiving mode of angst, and then you translate what's on those frequencies with thoughts of worrisome stuff or fear or anger or anything, because you're a translator. You're a translator first and foremost. You're so good at translating frequencies that you don't even know you're doing it, because that's the most basic tenet of who you really are as a creator. You're a translator. And so what we want to get you good at is translating what's in your vibrational reality, because what's over here, what's out here is so real, it's so compelling, it's so enamoring. It's like a show that you just want to keep watching because it's there in front of you. And so it compels you to talk about it, because you would be crazy not to talk about it. And then we're not at odds with that either. We're not arguing that what you're seeing is fake. We're saying is that what you're seeing is not the whole picture. Isn't that interesting? What you're seeing with your eyes is not the whole picture, because reality, there's another reality. There's a reality that runs underneath it, which is the vibrational reality. And everything happens there first. And you can translate that with your emotions. And then what happens in the vibrational reality takes place and manifests into physical form. It's like it gives you evidence. It's evidence of what you have going on vibrationally. And so a better way of saying that is how you feel and what you get next are always a match. And life will teach you that. In life, you will naturally come to that conclusion one way or the other. Positivity, positive mindset are all things that you've heard. And it's so interesting because while you are this vibrational creature and while you understand the law of attraction, you still depend so much more on your effort than you do on your vibration. Because even when you think that you're using your vibration and tending to your vibration, you're really trying to get to the end goal so fast, because that's what's messing everything up. That's what's messing all of your momentum out. Did you know that it's all just a game of momentum, a game of attention? Everything has a tipping point, and you can tip everything in your favor, but it starts with attention. And so here you are, and you're giving your attention to things, and you're receiving thought all day, every day. And sometimes you're receiving thoughts from your source, and usually you are. But when you receive that thought from source, that sounds like, oh, this song is so good, this feels good. When you have those thoughts of pleasure, you discount them. And even when you get that good idea of like, oh, it would be so nice to start writing a book, you, instead of following the path, you try to get to the end goal as fast as you can. You try to get realistic quick. And so your desire has no airtime. You can't really give attention to it because you're so obsessed with getting your business bigger than your business. You're so obsessed with getting to the end goal. You want to get realistic. You want to know where everything is. You want to know how it plays out. But your inner being knows what your resistance is and doesn't ask you to get your resistance out of the way. It guides you around all of your resistance out and underneath it, because your inner being knows that it's the path of least resistance that you really want. And so if you're receiving all the time, right? Because you're receiving mode all the time. You are a receiving mode. So if that's the basis that we have set, your receiving mode, then what are you receiving from? You can tell in two ways: by what comes next and how you feel before the manifestation comes. So imagine you're in the receiving mode of source, right? So source gives you an impulse, but the thing about source is that source is not like, it doesn't give you big impulses because it knows that you can't perceive it. You wouldn't be able to sustain it because you have resistance, and source doesn't care if you have resistance. It just knows that it just has to lead you around all of it. And it's not like it's hard for source, but it's hard for you to grasp it, because sometimes the call of source can sound like, oh, this would be really good. Yeah, going to the library tomorrow would feel good. It just feels like, so the impulse, the idea feels so small, but when the impulse feels good, when your path always starts first with a good feeling. Your thought always starts with a good feeling thought, because that's your path. Because you have source literally at your beck and call. And when you have a thought that feels good, that's your source. That's your source talking to you. And so you really have to understand that, and you have to be able to trust your source, because sometimes the human proclivity is to be like, oh, well, where am I going? But the thing is, source is not taking you somewhere where you don't want to go, because you have to remember that through your life, through your own sifting and sorting, you've actually told source where you want to go. And source understands that and knows how to get you there, and knows how to get you there along all of your resistance, and is taking you there. So you're the one who told source where you want to go. So source is taking you everywhere. And so it's interesting because you will recognize the path as you go along it. But the whole thing is you have to go on the path first. You have to be willing to go on the path of source, because source is calling you. But you just get realistic. You get so realistic fast. It's like, how is this going to play out? What am I going to do? What are all the odds? How am I going to be successful? And so you start to throw so much on the trail, and the source is like, yeah, that was a flop. So now we have to start from scratch again. But source doesn't care. It just makes everything for you longer. It means that it's going to be a longer journey. But that's what we say, that where you are is literally where you are. You can't be anywhere else. You can't be, if you want to go from Toronto to New York, you can't be in New York right now if your starting place is Toronto, because there's a journey that you have to undertake. You can't just go there. And even if you were to teleport there, there would still be a journey, because even though you're not physically making the distance by plane or walking or a bus, you're still making that distance. You understand that if I want to go to New York, there's something that I need to do. It's the same with your desires. You have to undergo the journey. And the thing about the journey is that it's a lot easier than you think it is. It's a good feeling journey. It's like a treasure hunt, and your inner being will guide you. Your inner being is literally guiding you all day, every day. And all you have to do is just prepare yourself to receive source. And how do you do that? How do you prepare yourself for your manifestations? Because once you understand that you've put in the vortex, source answered, source always answered, source gathered up all the cooperative components, and now you have to be in the receiving mode of all of that. So you can be there to translate it at the right time. You can be there to rendezvous with source. So once you lay that basis for yourself, then you realize all I have to do is just prepare myself. That literally is synonymous with just feeling good, tending to how you feel. Because when you're tending to how you feel, you're literally dealing with things vibrationally. You're talking with the very fabric of the universe, of this whole reality, vibration. And so when you're out here talking in vibration, and when you're attacking everything vibrationally, then everything starts to click into place, because now you understand, if I feel good, that's not me just feeling good, that's me talking to source. And then you can't, it's like you can't ask for momentum, you can't ask for the end goal, because you still have to get from Toronto to New York. So you can't jump. That's the thing about law of attraction, is that you can't jump all the way over there, because law of attraction wouldn't let you, because the frequencies are far apart. And even if you were to jump from here to there, because it would be really hard on the contents of your train, because it's too fast. It's too big of a jump. It's like jumping into really cold water. It's so shocking at first, but naturally you gradually, you get used to the water. You rise to the occasion of the temperature of the water, and then your body naturally finds homeostasis. It's like that. But with frequency, it doesn't work so well, because it takes a really steady thought for anything to happen, right? So it means that from the inception, from the thoughts that you're thinking right now, you have a lot of leeway into if it actually manifests or not. And so, during that leeway period, there's a lot of opportunity to get sloppy, because you don't see the results, and so you're like, okay, I'm doubting, because reality is compelling. But that's the danger of using that's the danger of the criteria of your thought. The reason why you think something is because it's real. Because when that's the criteria of your thought, then you're just flailing around thinking about everything. But when you have to introduce a new criteria of why you're going to think about something, which is how it feels. And that's what we're saying, is that if you follow how it feels, if that thought feels satisfying, then that's all you can ask for right now, because you are where you are, and you can't be anywhere other than where you are. What we're saying is that you also don't have to know where the path leads. And the reason why we say you don't have to know is because it's resistant in nature for you to know that, because you couldn't even perceive the end goal. But you have to remember that your inner being is like your manager. It has your back, and it not only does it have your back, it knows the best way to get you everything that you want, not just one thing. Your inner being has the capacity and ability to meet all of your intentions in just one desire. It can do that. It can dovetail everything together and make it so that one path can lead to everything, because that's how your inner being works. Your inner being it's not magical, but it's normal. It's normal for everything to go well for you. It's actually not normal for things to go well for you. It's like you're doing something wrong, which is not wrong, but something is off about the vibration that you're offering. And so you don't need to know what the path is, because you're receiving mode. And wanting to know, and even your desire to figure out what every thought can mean, every impulse can mean, it's slowing everything down. It's throwing you off the trail, because the only way that you can stay on the path, and the only way that you can really stay on the path, is by talking about how good it feels, because it ramps momentum up. You get more of it. It's like you're just meant to live happily ever after, for real. The universe is really literally created for that, and so everything nods to that conclusion. I'm just meant to be happy. And the thing is, you can't pretend to be happy, because with the ulterior motive of getting everything that you want. Because here's the thing, law of attraction doesn't hear your words. Law of attraction doesn't care how pretty they are. Law of attraction matches your frequency. So we say, change how you feel differently, because when you're changing differently, when you're changing how you feel, then you're dealing with things vibrationally. And if the universe responds to your vibration and now you're changing your vibration, then guess what? You're getting something different. Guess what? Now you're in the driver's seat. And so when you're driving, you just point out where you want to go and the engine does the work. The law of attraction does all the work. It's because you're trying to do all the work. You're trying to know where the path takes you. You want to know where every turn is, but we're saying just get in the car and your inner being will do the rest of the work, because your inner being knows where all the turns, it knows the best routes, it knows how to beat traffic, it knows how to do everything. But you have to get everything into perspective. You have to remember your place in this equation, which is you gotta be happy so that because when you're happy, guess what? You can hear source, because now you and source are on the same frequency. When you're happy, then when you're feeling good, when you're feeling frisky, satisfied, passionate, interested, eager, when you feel excited, then you're matched to source, and what source knows, the impulse will come into your mind. But remember, the impulse won't be writing on the wall. It won't be the sky opening up and everyone singing. It won't. Maybe it could be like that, but at first it'll be thoughts that are really minute in nature. But you have to know. But isn't that interesting? Is that if the path is always coming to you, like you can't even help but you can't even get off your path because you're always on your path. Then how are you in your nowness gonna sniff out the path? What are you gonna be doing? You're gonna be if it feels good, that means you're on your path. Isn't that interesting? You can quantify any journey. You can go from being broke to being rich. You can go from having no business to having a thriving business that's employing millions. You really can, because it's all relational. Everything in this reality is relational. So what that translates to you is, if I know the absence, I know the presence. But in order for me to get to the presence, I can't just jump to the presence. I have to gradually get there. There's a path that I have to undergo, and it's the same thing. There's a path that you have to undergo, but the path is not. It's not an action path. It's actually a path that you can start to go on right now, and it can lead you. But you don't need to know where it leads. You don't need to know all the details. You don't need to know all the turns, all the directions. You just have to realize that the path is coming to you, and you want to meet the path by being a match to the path. You want to realize that you're always receiving, but what are you receiving from? You want to be receiving from source, because when you're receiving from source, you have the best. You have the experience of a lifetime. Every moment is magical. Every moment is transformed because you're now on the level of source, and you and source are living this experience together. And so what's a better experience than that? Than being on your path eternally and just enjoying the ride.